Today on Detroit Muscle, it's a big day for our purple Hemi-powered challenger, Project Ultraviolet. She's out for her maiden voyage, and we're taking her straight to the track, where we'll show you how to set up G-Machine suspension.
When we started to work on our 1970 Dodge Challenger, it was barely more than a rusty shell. She had to take a trip to the blaster so we could start from absolute zero.
And the first thing to be replaced was the roof, which was the first of many sheet metal panels. For a chassis, it was one of the best, a Schwartz Performance G-Machine platform that would completely revolutionize the way this car handles. After that, there were a lot more panels to replace.
Meanwhile, in Indianapolis, a monster Hemi was being brought to life. And we backed it up with a 6-speed along with a dry shaft from Dan's driveline.
And with some modification, the shaker became the next piece to fit in the puzzle.
Then we had to make room for some huge new wheels and tires by altering the rear tubs.
In South Carolina, she got the paint job of a lifetime. In a tribute to Plum Crazy Purple, we call Carolina Violet.
There were still lots of pieces that had to be fixed or replaced, like the grille and bumpers.
Finally, she was ready for wheels and tires, so we could get a look at the stance. Then a custom fuel system to light a fire in that big Hemi.
A few more custom touches to set it apart from the crowd, along with replacing and rebuilding the entire interior one piece at a time. Daggone, Ultraviolet is ready. Hey guys, we took us a field trip up to Bowling Green, Kentucky to the NCM Motorsports Park. It's a beautiful new track and they're finishing up the final touches as we speak.
That's right, and the weather's so beautiful today, we figured we'd do this Challenger some justice with some track time. Time to do a little shakedown run just to get her broken in, right? Even with completely unadjusted suspension, she's already light years ahead of where the handling would have ever been on this car from the factory.
right, guys, we got our cone set up and we've got some pretty big plans for today. So we brought in a guest, Brian Finch. You all have seen him on the show before. He's helped out a lot with our projects. Brian, first thing today, what should we do?
Well, with any new build, the first thing we want to do is baseline this car, right? Go out, put some lap down, take some times, take some measurements, and start adjusting, see if we can make it faster.
You've seen him on our shows before. Just in case you forgot, let me tell you about Brian Finch. He's a professional autocrosser from Tennessee that knows exactly what it takes to push one of these cars to the limit. He's also the owner of Finch Performance, offering a variety of speed parts to get the maximum out of a car's capabilities.
Next one, so you're always wanting to look a turn or two ahead to put your car in position.
He's going to give us a rundown of how to handle this course.
Stay nice and tight. There you go. Another 180. Back around this way.
He's also gauging the performance of the car. For example, he noticed our front tires are pushing in the corners a bit.
There you go. Straight ahead up here. Go ahead and short shift into second. Just back and forth.
Oh, that jam, huh?
A course like this takes a little getting used to, but after a couple of laps with Brian, you get a lot more confidence, as well as a better feel for the car. That includes Brian too. He takes a couple of spins to get the feel for what the car is doing. And for what we'll need to do to improve it. After everybody had some seat time, it gives us a picture of what the car is doing.
While it's fresh off the course, the first thing to do is check the tire temperatures in a few key spots. And once that's all done, we're headed to the pits.
Coming up, we're gonna dive under that purple Mopar and get to work setting up the suspension. Check out how a few tweaks can make a huge difference.
Hey, we're back with our Challenger at NCM Motorsports Park in Bowling Green. And we're gonna take the data we gathered on the autocross course and use that to make some adjustments to our chassis. We're gonna put her on the scales.
First thing we want to do before we're going to scale a car is make sure the tires are all the same pressure all the way around, because so much as a half a pound difference in a tire can really affect the scale readings.
How much can it affect it?
I've seen, where at the half a pound you can be 20, 30 pounds more pressure forcing down on the scale in that corner. All right, looks like 3,530 pounds.
What do these numbers mean and how's this gonna help us?
What we're looking at right now is we're gonna check the corner weights of the car, right? So we've got it on the scales, we're gonna look at the front to rear bias, we're gonna look at each corner's bias. Ideally what we wanna get is a true 50-50 corner weight, cross weights on the car, and we want it with the driver in the car because that's the way it's gonna be out there on the track running. All right, so what we're looking at here, right, we've got our left front, right rear, left rear, etc. The weights are just being displayed. Right now we're showing that we're 54.7, 54.8 roughly weight to the front. That leaves us, of course, 45 roughly in the rear. So we know we got a lot of front end weight. When we start looking at the actual corners, we start looking at our cross weights. So now we know we're 47.53, so our cross weights are a little bit off. We're gonna go and make some adjustments to the corners and get this thing 50-50.
Now where the car was driving out there, it was pushing in the corners. So we measured the temperature of the tires, and on the outside, they were higher or hotter. So that means our camber is off.
Yeah, it looks like we're about 1 degree positive camber. So tires tilted out, we need to get it tilted in.
Among the three most popular alignment terms is camber, the angle of the wheel when viewed from the front of the car. If the top leans out from the center, the camber's positive. In from the center, that's negative. Now caster is the angle of the steering pivot when viewed from the side. If the top of the pivot leans toward the rear, caster's positive. Toward the front, it's negative. Toe in is the difference between the front and back of the tires, measured in fractions of an inch. Toe in means the front tires are actually closer to each other. Toe out means just the opposite.
Making camber adjustments on this Schwartz chassis is super easy. You back out this bolt connected to a rod that goes to the bottom of the spindle. Then undo the connecting rod on the sway bar to free it up. Then you turn this eyelet out for more negative camber and in for more positive. Normally the adjustments have to be made up here by shimming the control arms, but this setup makes it a lot easier.
Well, we've swung her 2 degrees. So we took out that degree of positive and put a degree of negative in. So good starting point.
Now before we can put the final touches on adjusting our suspension, we need to account for the driver. That's Tommy's job. So now we can go back, set our corner weights, check that off our list. You keep up the good work.
So what we're looking at here is the 4 corners of the vehicle. You can see by the right rear and the left front that we've kind of jacked the car. It's kind of pivoting on those two. So first thing we're going to do is go to the lowest weight, which is the left rear, start adjusting that up, which should put more load on the right front, balance out the car.
The way we're going to make these changes is with the adjusting rings on the shock bodies. This changes the spring tension, which adjusts the amount of load on each corner. The problem that we've got is these 2 corners are carrying a smaller percentage of the car's weight than these 2 are, so we'll adjust them accordingly.
It's 39, 40 now.
We'll reduce the spring tension a little on the corners that carry more of the load and tighten them on the lighter ones. After a series of tweaks on each wheel, we're able to balance it out to right at 50% split across each side.
Now we can go ahead and get the scales out from under the car and move on to the next adjustment, which will be toe in.
71 3/4. You can tell that we're towed in a ton. So after we've adjusted the camber, we got the suspension sitting right, we need to get the toe back out. I'm gonna put about 1/16 toe out, helps the turn in, and we'll go out there and make some runs.
We'll make this adjustment on the tie rod and we're in good shape. Now one last thing that we noticed while we were driving it is that the rear brakes were kicking in too hard. We can easily adjust that right here on the brake bias knob.
After the break, come along for another ride as we find out if those tweaks helped.
Welcome back, guys. We've got Ultraviolet out on her maiden voyage at NCM Motorsports Park. All right, so we've made our adjustments. We made a camber adjustment, toe adjustment, set our corner weights, made a brake bias adjustment, and set the tire pressure. You think we're ready to go?
Yeah, car's ready, so let's go out and put it on the track.
All right, go.
Already you can tell that there's a big difference in the way the car takes these corners. Less lean, no tire push, and now we can put that big hemming to way more use. We've easily cut a few seconds off the time it takes to make it around the course.
It actually handles so much differently from before that driving it takes a little getting used to. Again. Looks like Tom got a little excited. We'll let him take another stab at it. This time he's looking a lot better.
The clock doesn't lie, and what it's telling us is that those adjustments make all the difference in running the course faster. With more time, we could keep whittling it down even further, but this will do it for now. The Dodge ran pretty good, and it ran even better with the help of our buddy Brian Finch. I want to say thank you again.
Anytime, Tom, my pleasure.
We'll let him finish up.
Yeah.
Still ahead, we'll show you some of our secrets for keeping your ride nice and cool.
Hey guys, we got Ultraviolet back in the shop now. We're just putting a wrench on some of these suspension components before we send it down the road. And while we're at it, I got something to show you here.
If you'll take a look right here, you can see that we wrapped our 3-inch exhaust in DEI exhaust wrap, all the way from the front to the back. The primary reason we wrapped our exhaust was just for the look. Now it's pretty easy to do, and DEI offers a few different colors. They have it in tan, black, and this titanium. But if you decide to go with the black or the tan, a little tip for you, soak it in water for just a bit. It'll make application a whole lot easier. Not only does it look great, but wrapping exhaust and headers significantly decrease the radiant temperatures that they create. So if you're fighting that issue, maybe something you need to check into.
So we grabbed a set of shorty headers we had laying around in the back, and I'm gonna grab this titanium wrap and show you how to put it on. All right, so the first thing to do is take the wrap and put it around one of the tubes and count out how many of these loops you're gonna need, and keep in mind you're gonna need to have about a 1/4-inch overlap each wrap. All right, so that comes out to about 6. So we have one wrap here. We're just gonna count off 6 of those. Because we're gonna fold this over, corner, corner, and then flat. And that's gonna be our starting point. Now we can begin wrapping it around the tubes, using that 1/4-inch overlap that we were talking about earlier. We'll also repeat that corner folding trick here at the other end to keep things nice and tidy. Then we'll use DEI's locking ties to get it cinched down, using a special tool to finish the job. Be sure to tuck that end underneath.
Then on to the rest of the tubes. Some of them will be wrapped individually, some together. The closer you get to the collector, the more likely you'll need to wrap more than one at a time.
All right, so that's all there is to it. Now that's gonna help control the heat in your engine bay, and plus it looks pretty cool.
DEI offers several other items, and a few of them we're gonna go ahead and install on our Camaro, quite frankly, because we need to. The first thing we're going to install is a set of these spark plug boots. Now the installation is relatively simple because it just slides on and off. And since we're running those headers, we know it's just a matter of time before we end up eating a set of plug wires. Then follow that up with some of this protective sleeving for our electrical wires that are a little bit too close to the hot spots, if you will. Now DEI offers several other cool components, kind of like this turbo boot cover. Our car isn't boosted, but this thing is cool. Another thing is this insulating hose cover. It's pretty neat too. Well, that pretty much does it for this go around on Detroit Muscle. We'll see you guys next time.